Okay, chapter 6.3, Estimating Fraction Sums and Differences. This is actually a pretty easy lesson, and it's kind of fun too. You just have to get the benchmark idea. We're going to use benchmarks to estimate, and that means that we're going to round fractions to either 0, 1/2, or 1. Okay, and you'll see how that works really quick. It's either 0, 1/2, or 1, and there's a few that are kind of close, and you'll have to make a decision on, and I'll try to show you how to do that. I'll try to lead you well. We'll start with a number line and a fraction. We're going to add 1/6. This is in your book, plus 1/8. And so for our number line, we're going to use sixths, and you know how fractions work. This is one way that helps us kind of get it figured out. This would be 0, and this would be 1. And right in the middle would be 1/2, which is the same as 3/6. So we have 1/6. That's not exactly where it should be. 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4, 5, and 1, which is the same as 6/6. So we've got 1/6, 2, and this one I've already listed, 4, 5, and don't forget 1 is the same as 6/6. And I guess we could also point out that 0 is the same as 0/6. Okay, now if we just we list 1/6, 1/6 is right here. And we got to find out if it's closer to 0, 1/2, or 1. And we can see, using the number line, that it's closer to 0. And if I make another number line, hopefully I've got room. This is going to be a little tight. Use a different color. We're going to do eighths. 0. Got to switch tools. 1/8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 8/8, which is the same as 1. This is 1/8, 2, not 1/2, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6, 7, and 8/8. Okay, so half is right here. This is 1/2. Okay, now we're looking at adding 1/6 plus. Oh, it's just if I'm looking at the book and I'm reading it right, it's not really 1/8. It's 3/8. So we're adding 1/6 plus 3/8. Now these don't have common denominators, so they don't add very well. But we're using benchmarks to estimate. So our benchmarks are either 0, 1/2, or 1. And we're estimating, not finding an exact answer. And we're rounding. So 3/8 looks like, if I go ahead and change colors again, 3/8 is right here. And so this is 3/8. This was the 1/6. So when we're adding 1/6 plus 3/8, I can see that 3/8 is actually closer to 1/2 than it is to 0. So we're going to rewrite this as 0 plus 1/2 equals 1/2. And when you get good at this, you'll see that this is very, very, very easy. I don't need to use the number lines if I can kind of imagine it in my head. There's some tricks to knowing where something falls. Once in a while, something falls exactly in the middle. For instance, if it had been 2/8, this would be right here in the middle, and 2/8 is just as close to 1/2 as it is to 0. Right here at 2/8, this is the same distance. And when it's the same distance, I think we typically round up. So that's one way to look at that. Okay. Let's move forward and look at some others. So we can use mental math, and this is where it just gets easier. If we just do like this is a subtraction problem: 9/10 minus 5/8. and we're going to round. Sometimes the book, let's see, I should write it the way the book does it. The book writes 9/10 minus 5/8, like this. And they put their little bar. So this is sort of a vertical format. And then they change the numbers to the right. 9/10 is rounds to 1. Remember, our benchmarks are 0, 1/2, and 1. Well, 9/10 rounds to 1. 5/8 rounds to 1/2. And one way we can tell that it's about 1/2 is by realizing that this number 8, if we have any number of 8s, 8, well, half of 8 would be 4/8, and half of 8, and so 4/8 is equal to 1/2. See, 4/8 is exactly 1/2. So we're going to kind of see on a scale of 1 to 8, or 0 to 8, where does 5 fit? You almost could just do a number line that goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you have 1/8, or 1 whole, that's 8/8, that's all the way over here. 7/8 would be here, 4/8 would be right here. So 5/8 is really close to the 4, and it's a little farther away from 8. So we could actually immediately see that 5/8 is pretty close to 1/2. And then when we subtract 1, take away 1/2 equals 1/2. And that would be our answer. And that's basically the best way to do it. It doesn't, I'm looking at your book, and I'm not sure what to have you do with mixed numbers. Previously, when I've taught how to do this, we use mixed numbers. For instance, they have 6/7 plus 2 and 4/5. So this 2 is a whole number. And typically, when I've taught this, I just have people round to the nearest whole number. 4/5 is close to 1, so we're going to round to 3. Because 2 and 4/5 is like close to 3. It's 2 and more than 1/2. Now, usually we have our benchmarks as 0, 1/2, and 1. But when we have mixed numbers, I usually don't worry about the 1/2. We just round to the nearest whole number, which may not be 0. In this case, it would have been rounding down to 2 or rounding up to 3. So our benchmarks include 0, 1/2, and 1. But when we used mixed numbers, which is a whole number and a fraction, we just go to the nearest the nearest whole number. 6/7 rounds to 1, and we're still adding, which gives us 4. Now, that's not too bad and looks relatively easy. Let's do another. 4/6 plus 1/9. I went back to my horizontal format. Well, that's okay. We'll just rewrite it down here. We'll go this direction. 4/6. That's one of those where if you make the number line 0, 1, 2, 3, 3 is in the middle, 4, 5, 6. The 4 is actually pretty close to the middle, so that's 1/2 plus 1/9. Oh, that's very small. 0 equals 1/2. So this is more of a horizontal format where we travel along this direction. Okay, and that's really how it's done. I think that you can just keep working with that. You can do it on paper and pencil. Say you have 8/9 minus 1/2. You just turn 8/9 into 1 because it's close to 1. And 1/2 can actually just stay 1/2. It's nice when that happens. 1 minus 1/2 is equal to 1/2. A lot of answers are going to look like this. It gets pretty easy when we're just using benchmarks for estimating fractions. Now, this doesn't give us an exact answer, but it does help us get close. It helps us understand, because sometimes 8/9 is kind of confusing to even think about. But if we think that 8/9 minus 1/2 is about, it's approximately equal to, see my wiggly equal sign means it's about 1/2. Okay, great. That's the end.